The vast blackness of space held its usual quiet, punctuated only by the distant glimmers of stars. Above the swirling storms of Tirkavan, the gas giant that dominated the outer reaches of the Jakar Empire, the sensors of Station Kortal hummed steadily, scanning the void for threats, anomalies, or anything worth noting. For decades, the Jakar had ruled this sector with unchallenged authority. Their fleets were unrivaled, their intelligence network unparalleled. Yet nothing in their archives prepared them for what happened next. A sudden flare of exotic energy burst across the sensor grid, a spike so intense it blinded instruments momentarily. Then as quickly as it came, it vanished. Captain Raintal, overseeing the station's command center, froze. The room fell silent, all eyes on the main screen. "There! There!" one of the junior operators shouted, pointing at the flickering feed. A shape appeared, massive and angular, unlike any known Jakar or allied craft. Its hull shimmered with a translucent glow, as if made of fractured light, but before anyone could identify it, the ship blinked out of existence. "Impossible," muttered Captain Rintal. "Where did it go?" The array scrambled to reacquire the target, but the ship was gone. Commander Voss of the Imperial Fleet stood nearby, arms crossed, his expression grim. "It was here for exactly 12 seconds, no transmission, no weapon fire, no warp signature. And now, nothing." In the uneasy silence that followed, an analyst piped up. "Sir, the ship's energy readings don't match any known technology. This is something else, something new." The room buzzed with whispered speculation. Was it an unknown Xeno? A rogue experimental craft? Or worse, a weapon of unprecedented power? Captain Rintal's voice cut through the chatter. "Report to the High Command immediately. This cannot be ignored." Back on the Imperial capital world of Drenhul, the news hit like a shockwave. The Jakar Empress, a woman of iron will and ruthless ambition, sat upon her throne. The holographic display flickered to life before her, showing the fleeting image of the unknown ship. "How does something like this appear and vanish in our space without warning?" she demanded. Admiral Kaelvorn, head of the Imperial Intelligence Agency, bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, preliminary scans indicate the vessel uses technology beyond our understanding, possibly beyond the combined knowledge of all our vassals. It may be a threat or a test." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "Then we will respond accordingly. Prepare a fleet. I want every sensor in the Empire scanning for it. If it returns, we will be ready." Kaelvorn nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty." But even as orders were issued, unease spread through the ranks. Meanwhile, deep within the shadowed halls of the Imperial Library, Scholar General Thalvex pored over ancient star charts and forbidden records. A veteran of countless wars, Thalvex was no stranger to strange phenomena. But this was different. His fingers traced the outlines of a ship that resembled the brief sensor image. Sharp angles, translucent hull, technology that bent physics. He accessed a sealed archive, the precursor records, fragments of lost history labeled the Sol Campaign. The files detailed a species once thought eradicated by the Jakar, the humans. According to Imperial history, humans were destroyed millennia ago during a brutal war. Their technology was crude, but their stubbornness nearly cost the Jakar the entire sector. Yet these records were fragmentary, often dismissed as myth or propaganda. Thalvex felt a chill. Could it be possible the humans survived? And if so, why now reveal themselves? He resolved to bring this to the Empress's attention, though he knew the ruling council would resist dredging up dangerous past ghosts. Back on Station Kortal, the crew continued their vigil. "Captain, we're detecting faint subspace echoes, consistent with the ship's brief appearance," reported Lieutenant Sarah. "Can we trace the origin?" Rintal asked. "Not yet. The signal is too fragmented. But it seems to have come from outside known space. The unknown ship had vanished into the depths where no Imperial fleet dared to follow, beyond mapped star lanes and patrol routes. Still, the message was clear. The galaxy was no longer as secure as the Jakar believed. That night, as the station's lights dimmed and the crew prepared for rest, Captain Rintal stood alone by the viewport. The swirling storms of Tirkavan stretched below, vast and unknowable. He whispered to himself, "Whoever you are, we're watching now, and we won't let you disappear again." The blink in the void was only the beginning. The grandeur of the Imperial Library on Drenhul was unlike anything in the galaxy, a fortress of knowledge layered with ancient stone and shimmering data conduits. Scholar General Thalvex moved swiftly through its labyrinthine halls, his mind racing as he prepared to face the Empress. His discovery was no simple curiosity. It threatened the Empire's entire understanding of history. In a private chamber, Thalvex stood before the Empress, her cold eyes fixed on him. "Explain this," she commanded, projecting the faded star charts and archival images onto the crystalline screen. The ghostly outline of the unknown ship hovered above a schematic of a long-dead star system. "This ship's design matches that of the humans, Your Majesty," Thalvex said carefully. "A species believed destroyed over 5,000 cycles ago in the Sol campaign. They were marked extinct, eradicated by our forces after refusing surrender." The Empress's lips curled in disdain. "Ancient history. Legends, propaganda used to justify our conquest. Why dredge up old ghosts?" "Because, Your Majesty, it appears those ghosts are not dead," Thalvex replied. "The technology we saw was far beyond any modern human faction we know. It is advanced, evolved, and it has appeared twice now, both times vanishing before we could respond." Her gaze sharpened. "If this is true, it means a threat lurks at the edge of our domain. Prepare the fleets." Thalvex hesitated. "There is more. I request authorization to reopen the Precursor Archive Initiative, access to classified records concerning humanity and the Sol campaign. Our current knowledge is incomplete, and we may find answers there." The Empress's eyes flashed with anger. "No. Those records were sealed for a reason. We cannot afford to weaken morale with old fears. Continue to hunt this ship, but do not waste resources chasing shadows." Thalvex bowed. "As you command." That night, in a hidden wing of the library, Thalvex accessed the sealed Precursor archives under the cover of darkness. Ancient data logs and starship schematics flooded his vision. The humans, it seemed, were far more resilient than the Empire allowed. He found recorded transmissions intercepted during the Sol campaign. The final human fleet, cornered and battered, had sent a cryptic message before disappearing from the charts. "You will forget us until it matters most." Thalvex's fingers trembled. What had humanity become? How had they survived unseen for so long? Elsewhere, aboard the flagship Imperial Dawn, Admiral Kaelvorn convened his council. "The unknown ship is more than a curiosity. It is a warning," Kaelvorn declared. "Our defenses were bypassed with surgical precision. It appeared and vanished without warning." Commander Lisa Van, a young but sharp tactician, spoke up. "What if this ship isn't just a threat? What if it's a message, something the humans want us to see?" Kaelvorn scowled. "We cannot afford to speculate. The Empire demands certainty and strength. But without understanding, we walk blind," Lysaven replied. "We know almost nothing about this technology or these humans. They could be allies or annihilators." Suddenly, the flagship's communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, we're picking up a subspace burst. It's faint, but it's coming from the direction of the gas giant Tirkavan." Kaelvorn's eyes narrowed. "Prepare to analyze. Could it be another appearance?" The crew tensed as sensors locked on the signal. It was brief, a low-frequency pulse encoded in a language long thought extinct. Lysaven translated aloud, voice trembling. "We remember." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Back on Station Kortal, Captain Rintal stared at the decrypted message. "They're taunting us," muttered Lieutenant Sarah. "They know what we did. They remember the war." Rintal's jaw tightened. This is no longer a simple threat, it's a reckoning. He ordered the station to strengthen sensor arrays and alert nearby fleets. The Empire was waking up to an enemy it never expected to see again. Meanwhile, in the depths of uncharted space, the unknown ship materialized once more, brief and ghost-like, observing. Its captain, a stern-faced woman named Admiral Jonah Reyes, gazed at the swirling storms of Tirkavan below. "Time to remind them we never truly left," she said, voice steady and cold. Behind her, the hidden human enclave thrived, in shadow waiting for the moment to reclaim their place among the stars. The blink in the void was no accident. It was the beginning of a long game, one the Jakar Empire was unprepared to play. The silence in the imperial capital was broken by a cascade of alarms. On the bridge of the flagship Imperial Dawn, Commander Lissazaven stared in disbelief at the holographic display. Satellites, one by one, were flickering out of control. Defense, grids across the core worlds blinked dark. "Report!" Admiral Kyle Vorn barked, his usual calm shattered by the sudden chaos. Lieutenant Sarah's fingers danced over the console. "It's a coordinated cyber attack, sir, coming from the same region as the unknown ship's last appearance. But this isn't any standard hacking signature we've seen. The algorithms are alien, adaptive. It's rewriting our codes in real time." Kyle Vorn's jaw clenched. "How much time before they breach our primary defense networks?" "Minutes. At best," Sarah replied. "Is this an attack?" Lysaven asked, voice tight. "No," Sarah shook her head. "It's more like a message." On the main display, encrypted pulses coalesced into an image, a fragment of an old Earth broadcast, faint but unmistakable. A human voice echoed through the room, garbled but clear enough to make the hairs on the back of every Jakar soldier's neck stand on end. "We remember you." The message spread like wildfire. Across the Empire, fleets halted, citizens panicked, and whispers of the returning ghosts filled every corner. The humans were no longer myth. They were here, present, and powerful. In the depths of the Imperial Library, Scholar General Thalvex leaned over his desk, eyes wide with urgency. "The humans have returned not just to fight, but to remind us." A junior archivist hesitated before speaking. "But why now, General? After all this time?" Thalvex rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Because we forgot them. Our arrogance blinded us to the consequences of their disappearance. We believed extinction was permanent. We were wrong." He pulled up ancient battle logs. Humans had vanished not because they were destroyed, but because they had mastered the art of concealment. Folding, space manipulating gravity, hiding entire fleets in cloaked dimensions. "This is a new era," Thalvex whispered to himself, one where forgetting the past is no longer an option. Meanwhile, in the cold vacuum beyond the edges of Imperial space, a scouting fleet assembled under orders to investigate the last known coordinates of the unknown ship. Commander Lys Avon led the vanguard aboard the Starhawk, a sleek cruiser outfitted with the latest sensors and stealth tech. "Remember, we're not just hunting a ship," Lysaven briefed her officers. "We're hunting a secret that could unravel everything we thought we knew about this galaxy." As they jumped into hyperspace, tension hung heavy. None doubted what awaited them could alter the fate of the Empire forever. Seconds before exiting hyperspace, the fleet's sensors went wild. "Energy spike ahead," the lead technician shouted. "Subspace distortion consistent with artificial event horizon." The fleet emerged not into empty space, but into a swirling bubble of warped reality, a hidden pocket dimension cloaked by advanced gravity-folding technology. Inside the distorted space, structures glimmered, an entire enclave built in defiance of time and space. "We've found them," Lysaven whispered. Back on Drenhul, the Empress received news of the fleet's discovery. "Humans still live?" she demanded, incredulous. How could they have survived this long, hidden in some cosmic shadow? Her advisors offered guarded answers, but none dared challenge her wrath. "Prepare the armada," she ordered coldly. "We will crush this defiance before it spreads." But the humans were ready. Admiral Jonah Reyes, commander of the hidden enclave, stood on the bridge of their flagship, the Resurgence. "We've waited long enough," Reyes said to her officers. "They believed us dead. That mistake will cost." them dearly. Her ship's systems hummed with power beyond anything the Empire had seen, quantum shields shimmering, gravity engines folding space around them. We will remind them who we are. Not with rage, but with inevitability. Back on the Imperial Dawn, Lysiaven watched the stars with a mix of awe and fear. This isn't just a war, she thought. It's a reckoning. The signal had been sent. The past was no longer forgotten. The Starhawk and its escort fleet drifted silently at the edge of the artificial event horizon, a bubble of warped space engineered to hide entire star systems from prying eyes. Within it lay the secret the Empire never expected to find, a thriving human enclave. Commander Lysaven peered at the holographic star maps glowing in the bridge's dim light. The readings were baffling. Planets, stations, even entire ecosystems, all concealed behind an invisible veil. "Scan for life signs," Lysaven ordered. The sensors pulsed, revealing millions of human signatures, breathing, moving, alive. Colonies nested in vast space habitats spun gently around a massive artificial sun, illuminating domes of greenery, cities built from sleek, unfamiliar alloys, and fleets far larger and more advanced than anything the Empire had encountered. Lysaven swallowed hard. They're not extinct. They never left. Below deck, a transmission was being prepared. First contact, but unlike any diplomatic exchange before. Lysaven's heart pounded. She had spent her career as a soldier and tactician, but now she was the emissary to a civilization. Thought lost to myth. The message was simple and clear. We come in peace. We want to understand. Across the shimmering expanse, Admiral Jonah Reyes stood on the command deck of the flagship Resurgence, watching the approaching fleet. Years of exile had sharpened her resolve. The humans had endured the Empire's relentless campaign, faked their extinction, and now returned, not as rebels but as something more. We have no desire to conquer, Reyes addressed her senior officers, but we will not be erased again. This enclave is a testament to our survival, our ingenuity. Her voice was calm, but beneath it lay steel. If they send warriors, they will find ghosts, but if they send ears, they will find allies. The first Jakar envoy to land was Commander Lysaven herself. The docking bay of the main human habitat, New Solus, was a spectacle of light and technology. Organic shapes fused with high-tech alloys, plants glowing softly in the artificial atmosphere, and crowds of humans staring with cautious curiosity. Lysaven stepped off her ship, armor shining, and met by a delegation led by Admiral Reyes. The two regarded each other silently, the weight of centuries between them. Reyes was the first to speak. "You come from the Empire that declared us extinct. You carry the arrogance of those who believe history ends with their victory." Lysaven replied, "We come to learn, to understand what we feared, and perhaps to correct it." Over the following days, Lysaven toured the enclave, witnessing the astounding fusion of human spirit and technology. She saw children learning to navigate virtual galaxies, scientists working on quantum memory devices that could store consciousness, and engineers refining gravity-fold engines capable of instantaneous travel between stars. Each discovery chipped away at the Empire's narrative of superiority. Humanity had not only survived, it had flourished in ways the galaxy had never imagined. But trust was fragile. At a council meeting, Lysaven voiced her concerns. "The Empire sees us as a threat. Their fleets gather and the Empress grows impatient." Reyes nodded solemnly. "We anticipated their fear. But this is bigger than any one empire. Our return is a reminder that no civilization can hold the galaxy alone." A tense silence fell over the room. That night, Lysaven stood on the observation deck gazing at the stars beyond the bubble. A voice came over the comlink, her second in command. "Commander, we've intercepted a transmission from the Empress. She's mobilizing the Armada." Lysaven's heart sank. The fragile chance for peace was slipping away. She turned back toward the council chamber. "We must prepare for negotiation or war." The hidden colony was no longer a secret. The Humans had returned and the galaxy was about to remember. The stars above the human enclave shimmered softly as the resurgence prepared for its next move. Admiral Jonah Reyes stood on the command bridge, eyes sharp as they scanned the latest intelligence reports. "The Empire's armada is mobilizing faster than we expected," her second-in-command reported. "Their fleets are converging on New Solus and the surrounding systems. They believe we are vulnerable." Reyes nodded, her expression steely. "Let them come. They do not understand what we have become." Back on the Imperial Dawn, Admiral Kelvorn stood before a war council. The ancient chamber hummed with tension. "We have underestimated humanity's survival," Kelvorn said, voice low but commanding. "Our intelligence failed us, and now we face a force that blends advanced technology with centuries of hardship." Commander Lysa Avon stepped forward. "Admiral, their technology, gravity fold drives, quantum cloaking, it's unlike anything in our arsenal. They are untouchable by conventional means." The Empress's voice echoed through the chamber via holocom. "Then we must adapt or perish. Prepare to deploy the entire armada. I want their enclave crushed before they can rally allies." Kelvorn's eyes darkened. "Yes, Your Majesty." But in the war room, Lysa Avon lingered, troubled. She approached Kelvorn quietly. "There has to be another way. We don't fully understand their motives. They sent that message. May we remember you. What if they seek more than war?" Kelvorn shook his head. "The Empire does not negotiate with ghosts of the past." Meanwhile, in the hidden colony, Admiral Reyes convened her senior officers. "Our return is not to seek revenge," she addressed them. "It is a reckoning. The galaxy's arrogance cost us everything once. Now we are here to correct the course." A holographic display lit the room, showing the history of the Sol campaign, battles, betrayals, and finally, humanity's faked extinction. "We have evolved," Reyes continued. "Our technology is the legacy of those who refused to die. Quantum warfare, gravity manipulation, and unmatched stealth give us an edge. But our goal is survival and balance." One officer raised a question. "How do we convince the Empire of that?" "Their fear blinds them." Reyes's eyes glinted with resolve. "We must show them. Not with conquest, but with power tempered by wisdom." The Resurgence's weapon systems hummed with latent power, but Reyes held the order back. She reached out through secure channels to Lysa Avon. "Commander," her message began, "we do not want another war. We remember the cost of such conflicts. Let us meet. Open dialogue, or we will be forced to defend ourselves." Lysa Avon hesitated, then replied, "I will come. But know this, the Empire is watching." The day of the meeting dawned cold and gray. In a neutral zone between the Enclave and Imperial space, Lysa Avon boarded the Resurgence with a small delegation. The atmosphere was tense, soldiers and diplomats alike watching every move. Reyes greeted them with quiet dignity. "Welcome. We are not your enemies if you choose not to be ours." The two commanders talked long into the cycle, sharing histories, losses, and visions. Lysa Avon spoke of the Empire's fear and pride, Reyes of humanity's survival and hope. Though wary, a fragile understanding began to form. But peace is always fragile. Back on Drenhul, the Empress received word of the meeting. "Do not be fooled," she warned her council. "This is a ploy to weaken us. Prepare the fleets for total war." As the fleets massed, Lysa Avon found herself caught between two worlds, the Empire she swore to protect and the humans who might yet reshape the galaxy. She stared at the stars, whispering, "We may be on the edge of destruction, or a new dawn." The return of the forgotten had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. The void between the human enclave and the Jakar Empire simmered with quiet menace. Fleets amassed like predatory stars, massive warships casting long shadows against the backdrop of distant suns. In the neutral zone where diplomats had met only days before, an uneasy calm had been shattered. On the Imperial Dawn, Admiral Kelvorn paced the command bridge, his gaze fixed on the flickering tactical display. The humans' enclave, concealed for centuries, was now exposed. The Armada's readiness was unparalleled. Thousands of ships bristling with weapons primed to strike. "Status report," Cale Vorn demanded. Lieutenant Sarah, her fingers flying over the console, responded. "Our espionage efforts indicate the humans are reinforcing defenses and preparing for war. Their quantum cloaking makes pinpoint targeting difficult, but their presence is unmistakable." Cale Vorn's jaw tightened. "Then we strike before they can fully mobilize." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Resurgence, Admiral Jonah, Reyes prepared her own fleet for the inevitable. "The Empire has chosen aggression," she said, voice calm but resolute, addressing her officers. "They do not understand what we are anymore. We must show strength, not just to defend, but to survive." Her second-in-command, Commander Mara Lee, leaned forward. "Should we activate the gravity fold cloaks? It will make us untouchable, but also prevent any hope of peaceful negotiation." Reyes shook her head. "No. If war comes, it must be on their terms. We fight openly, not as ghosts hiding in shadows." Back on Imperial Dawn, Lys Avon's communicator beeped urgently. The Empress was broadcasting a direct order. "The human enclave is a rebellion that must be extinguished. You have my sanction to use all force necessary. No quarter will be given." Lys Avon stared at the message, heart heavy. "This isn't the future we hoped for," she murmured. The first clash came swiftly. Out on the fringes of the neutral zone, a scouting fleet led by Commander Lys Avon intercepted a human advance group attempting to secure a strategic jump point. Energy blasts lit the darkness as ships engaged in a deadly ballet. The human vessels maneuvered with eerie precision, slipping through Jacquard defenses, firing pulses that warped space itself. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the Imperial forces were outmatched. The humans used gravity waves to disrupt targeting systems while quantum stealth made them vanish and reappear unpredictably. "Hold the line," Lys Avon ordered, but even she felt the tide turning. After hours of skirmishing, both sides pulled back. The losses were staggering. Admiral Cale Vorn's flagship sustained damage and several cruisers were crippled. On the human side, 2 casualties mounted. On the bridge of the Resurgence, Admiral Reyes watched the aftermath with grim satisfaction. "They learn quickly," she said quietly, "and so must we." In the Empire's capital, the Empress convened an emergency war council. "The humans are stronger than we believed," she admitted, "but they are still outsiders. We must break their spirit." Her chief strategist proposed a massive assault on New Solus, aiming to obliterate the heart of the Enclave. But Thal Vex, the Scholar General, spoke up. "Your Majesty, destroying their homeworld may unite them, in a way we cannot defeat. We risk creating martyrs and awakening a force beyond our control." The Empress's gaze hardened. "Then we will do what must be done." Back at the Enclave, Admiral Reyes prepared for the worst. "We may lose worlds," she said to her council, "but we will never lose ourselves. The galaxy has forgotten us for too long. Now it will remember." Meanwhile, Lys Avon found herself torn between duty and the hope she glimpsed in the humans. She reached out to Reyes one last time. "There is still a chance to avoid annihilation. Stand down, and we can rebuild trust." Reyes replied, "I wish it were so. But fear drives the Empire. Our survival depends on our strength, not their mercy." As the Armada's ships moved into assault positions, and the human fleet readied its defenses, the galaxy braced for a war that would test the limits of endurance, faith, and the indomitable spirit of a species once thought lost. The return of humanity was no longer a secret. It was a revolution. The void roared with energy as the Imperial Armada and the human fleet converged near New Solus. Stars flickered behind the shadows of colossal warships, each a testament to the will of empires and the resilience of a forgotten race. Admiral Cale Vorn's voice rang out across the Imperial Dawn's bridge. "All hands, battle stations. This will be the fight that defines our era." Commander Lys Avon gripped the railing, watching the shimmering line of human vessels coalesce beyond the planet's orbit. "They're not just fighting to survive," she murmured. They're fighting to reclaim their place. On the Resurgence, Admiral Jonah Reyes stood at the helm, eyes steady, despite the storm of war about to break. "We may be outnumbered," she told her officers, "but we carry centuries of survival in our veins. Let them come. We will show them the strength they never saw coming." A roar echoed as energy weapons ignited, and the fleets surged toward each other in a blaze of light and fury. The first exchange was brutal. Gravity pulses from human warships distorted space-time, throwing Imperial targeting systems into chaos. Quantum shields flickered under the concentrated fire, yet the Empire's sheer numbers pressed forward relentlessly. Lysaven commanded from the forward frigate Falcon's Talon, coordinating complex maneuvers. Focus on their lead destroyers. Break their formation. Explosions blossomed like stars dying, metal twisting and breaking apart under concentrated beams. But the humans adapted swiftly, their ships weaving through the battlefield with uncanny agility. Amid the chaos, a squadron led by Commander Mara Lee deployed gravity mines, ripping open rifts that swallowed several Imperial cruisers whole. Kael'Vorn grimaced. "They fight with the cunning of survivors. We must hit harder." He gave the order to deploy the Judicator, a colossal dreadnought bristling with experimental weapons designed to tear through even the toughest shields. As the Judicator unleashed a storm of plasma and gravitic missiles, Admiral Reyes ordered a desperate counterattack. "Our cloaks will fade. It's time." Human ships blinked out, disappearing and reappearing behind Imperial lines. Ambushes erupted, tearing apart the Armada's flanks. On board the Imperial Dawn, Lysaven realized the battle was turning into a war of attrition. "We can't hold this pace," she reported. "They're too elusive, but if we break their command ship, the fleet might falter." Kael'Vorn nodded. "Target the Resurgence. Focus all firepower." The duel between the flagships was fierce. The Resurgence's shields rippled under the heavy assault, but the ship's advanced technology absorbed and redirected energy like a living thing. Admiral Reyes stood calm amid the fury. "Engage gravity pulse array. Maximum output." A wave of distorted space slammed into the Judicator, crippling its weapon systems and throwing its crew into chaos. Back on the battlefield, Lysaven took a desperate gamble. She ordered a strike, teamed aboard the Resurgence and disable its core. The team's stealth shuttle slipped through the chaos unseen. As they breached the hull, alarms blared. Reyes met the intruders personally, armed and unyielding. "You think you can destroy us from within?" she said, voice cold. "You forget what we are." The boarding fight was brutal. Firefights in zero-G, hand-to-hand combat in corridors lit by emergency lighting. But the humans fought with a ferocity born of centuries of survival, pushing back every Imperial soldier. Outside, the battle raged on with no clear victor. Kael'Vorn's voice was grim. "This war will not be won by weapons alone." Lysaven, battered and bruised, called back. "We need to understand them if we want peace, or this cycle will repeat forever." In the final moments of the clash, a sudden signal burst through the comm channels. It was the Empress. "Cease fire," she ordered. "Negotiations will begin." Shock rippled through both fleets. Admiral Reyes looked out at the crippled Judicator, the battered Imperial Dawn, and the countless ships damaged by the clash. She nodded slowly. "Perhaps this is the moment to be remembered not just as survivors, but as architects of a new future." The first tentative step toward peace had been taken, but both sides knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenge. The galaxy had witnessed the clash of titans and the dawn of something greater. The space between the fleets was heavy with silence, a fragile ceasefire draped across the remnants of battle. Admiral Jonah Reyes stood on the bridge of the Resurgence, gaze fixed on the crippled Judicator drifting nearby. The cost of survival weighed heavily on her shoulders, but so did the promise of what could come. Across the void, the Imperial Dawn hovered, its battle scars visible in the flickering lights and damaged hull plating. Commander Lysaven's eyes met Reyes's through the secure comm link, a silent acknowledgement of shared hardship. "Prepare the envoy ships," Reyes ordered. This war ends with words, not weapons. In the imperial capital, the Empress sat on her throne, her expression unreadable. Why now? One advisor asked. Because, she said slowly, to destroy them is to destroy a part of ourselves. The humans remind us of our own past, our own potential. They are not just adversaries. They are a reckoning. The first peace summit convened in a neutral station orbiting a star barely a century old. Delegates from the Empire and the human enclave gathered, wariness mingling with curiosity. Lys Avon, representing the Empire, and Reyes, for humanity, took center stage. Reyes spoke first, voice steady and resolute. We returned not for vengeance but for recognition. For centuries we endured in the shadows, not to hide, but to grow. Our technology, our culture, our spirit, they are proof that survival is not surrender. Lys Avon followed. The Empire feared what it did not understand. We sought to extinguish a ghost. Instead, we found a living testament to endurance. Over cycles of negotiation, the walls of suspicion began to crumble. Trade agreements blossomed, shared research initiatives launched, and cultural exchanges opened windows between two civilizations that had once been enemies. Back on New Solus, children from both species played beneath the glow of artificial suns, their laughter a melody of hope. Scientists collaborated on gravity manipulation, combining the Empire's resources with human innovation. The galaxy's borders, once lines of conflict, softened into bridges of cooperation. But peace required vigilance. Lys Avon and Reyes, now co-chairs of the newly formed Galactic Accord, knew that old grudges would not vanish overnight. We are the architects of this new dawn, Reyes said during a joint address to the Accord's Council. Our past shapes us, but it does not define us. Lys Avon added, together we are stronger. Together we ensure the future. Years passed and stories of the vanished humans became legends of revival and unity. The once feared ghosts were now heralds of a new era, proof that even in the darkest shadows, hope can thrive. As Lys Avon watched the twin suns set over the Enclave's horizon, she felt a quiet pride. The unknown ship had appeared and vanished, but what it truly heralded was a rebirth. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at its heart. The end,